My best friend of 15 years ended our friendship for no apparent reason. My best friend of 15 years ended our friendship for no apparent reason and it eats me up inside. I'm a female, my best friend male. We're both 32 now, but he ended our friendship late 2019. We'd been best friends since we were 13. We'd been through so much together. Over the years we'd always said we'd ride or die together, even making a pact to get together age 30 if nobody else wanted us. As we got older we didn't always hang out as much, but when we did, it was always like old times. We bounced and thrived off each other, or at least I thought we did. When we were 13 to 15 we fooled around a bit with snogging after we'd been drinking a bit, but ultimately I wasn't attracted to him like that, and we definitely made better friends than anything romantic. When I was 15 and we were really out of our faces, I made an embarrassing sexual advance that he really didn't appreciate. It was embarrassing for both of us the next day and we filed it away never to be spoken of. Over the following years I dated various guys, whilst he on the other hand was a late bloomer and only lost his virginity late into his 20s. To his current GF, he isn't ugly but was clearly awkward with the other sex. From the age of 17 plus he was like my wingman, and when we went to pubs and such people would either assume we were a couple or assume he was my gay best friend. We both seemed happy or not bothered by it. In our early 20s we even roomied together a couple of times. It was not sexual at all and we both enjoyed living with each other, both reiterating how much we got each other. My first indication that maybe he was bothered by this setup was around 2014. We were in a house share with a couple of other friends. We went to the local pub to play pool and he got a little drunk. He didn't drink much at this point, and he confessed to me over a game of pool that when we were teenagers I had broken his heart by not realizing he felt romantically towards me, and he said it had taken him years to come to terms with it. The news took me by surprise. The very next day he made it clear he was embarrassed that he got a loose tongue and clarified, just so you know, that was the past and at present you're the furthest thing from what I want in a girlfriend. Actually I think you're gross, and I was like okay, cool. We make such better friends anyway, where would I be without you? Brutal honesty was a hallmark of our friendship, so I just took it in stride. In 2015 I rented a flat near his home and we spent a lot of time together again. One night on Valentine's Day I got back to my flat from work and found he had let himself in and set up some Valentine's stuff for me, which I found super cute and thoughtful, but bearing in mind he adamantly told me he wasn't attracted to me, I interpreted it a friendship gesture. It's since been pointed out to me this was stupid on my part. Around 2016 we drifted a bit apart. I had quit my job and actually had to live with other friends for a while. He was hanging out with his own workmates, and he had just discovered cocaine and partying, something I discovered years before but had since stopped. He got really annoyed with me when I wouldn't sneak out of my friends regularly at 2 a.m. to do coke with him. I explained I can't do that whilst living under someone else's roof. He was mad and said, but you loved to party in the past. I suspected he was developing an issue with the party lifestyle of his work pals, but he brushed off my concerns. In 2017 I got into a serious relationship and moved 100 miles away. He drove down to visit me with housewarming gifts and he disclosed he had entered into his own first proper relationship and was moving into hers with her. The new city didn't work out for me and by 2018 I moved back to my hometown with my partner and me and Bestie reconnected again. He came round to mine to visit and disclosed some relationship issues he was having. We both laughed and joked over the ups and downs of both our relationships. He disclosed that his girlfriend had control issues and she wouldn't allow friends to visit them at all. She had snubbed her invite to my house also. He was adamant she wouldn't control him. He also told me she didn't really like me as he had told her every gory detail of our friendship, even the embarrassing sexual thing I thought we'd both forget. I scolded him and said, you've got a female best friend, and neither of us feel romantically towards each other. You should never have shared those details. Also, the fact that I'm a female will make her uncomfortable and I want to get to know her, so she knows she has nothing to worry about. By 2019 he was clearly very depressed when me and my partner went to visit him at a pub he was working at. He disclosed he was raising his girlfriend's son from a previous relationship but she was adamant she didn't want more, which he found devastating. I hooked him up with a new job at a new pub, hoping this might cheer him up. He even took me on a road trip to take care of some business, as he drives and I don't. She was aggressively blowing up his phone the whole time and I said, please answer her, I don't want to be blamed for this, and he was like, nah, she's being nuts, controlling and unhinged, let's just enjoy the trip. From what I could glimpse on the messages, she relied heavily on emotional blackmail, clearly mental health issues. Whatevs, not my business, is how I resigned myself. A couple of months later they babysat my new daughter for me once. I was so pleased we had seemingly reached a turning point. They were both then invited to my birthday drinks late 2019. He said he was coming but she wasn't. When me and my partner picked him up to meet our other friends at the pub he looked depressed, stoned and grumpy. I assumed he was so stoned he would come to life later on throughout the night. He didn't. Whilst I was at the bar getting drinks in, I returned to our table to learn he had stormed out, without a word to any of our mutual friends. I searched the streets for him. I called him. Nothing. His phone rang out for a month. After a month he finally texted me and said, "Isn't it obvious? I hate you, why can't you get the message?" And that was the last communication we ever had. I genuinely felt like I lost a limb, and the lack of closure haunts me so much. I feel abandoned by my best friends, and now I don't want to even go on living. This is bigger than just my best friends, and I'm going to try to give as much context in as few words as possible. Because man, I can ramble, but they are the factor currently making me spiral. Background information on me. I'm 34 NB with a whole host of mental illness/neuroses that I've been working on the last 8 years. Medication trial and error, different therapies, etc. And I'm on a wait list to be potentially diagnosed with autism, even though I mask extremely well in public. Approximately a year ago I was blindsided by being fired with no cause. Read, I'm mentally ill and slightly inconvenient. I can't prove it, and it wouldn't do any good if I could because of the shitty labor ministry. It was soul crushing and completely destroyed all my happiness and hope. For the first 6 months I couldn't even job search because I lost every ounce of confidence I had, which was already very, very little. I'm in my house all day, and even though I try to go out, it's all surface level interaction with acquaintances, never the deep connection I'm looking for. Background information on the friendship. My two best friends, both 34 also, and I have been a group of 3 for the last decade, brought together by common interests. In the first few years we used to have sleepovers once a month and hung out once a week to watch a show together. Slowly these hangouts dwindled to maybe once a month total, then every few months. Because of their stuff, I'm the weirdo who would move heaven and earth to make time for them. Then, 2 years ago, one moved to another city that's a 5+ hour drive, which was one of the worst times of my life, but I just wanted her to be happy. And even though I knew she was lying when she said she would be coming back to visit all the time since us and her whole family lives here, I wanted it to be true. We have our 3-person group chat that's been active since we met. Some people can survive on just chatting online, and though I need in-person interaction, I tried to settle for what I could get. Present day. Look, I know I'm a weirdo and outlier when it comes to friendships. In my head, it's like I have 2 separate cups that need to be filled, one for romantic relationship and one for friendships. I'm happily married and my spouse is another best friend, but I've always been the kind of person who puts my platonic best friends at the same level of importance. Like, when it comes to love, I don't feel that I love my friends less than my partner. It's just a completely separate kind of love that's equally necessary for me. I'm aware most people can have friendships come and go without feeling bad. I've spent years teaching myself that what other people do is rarely personal and just a result of them living their life, so please don't think I'm all main character syndrome. I don't make anyone else responsible for my feelings, which I guess is why I'm writing this. Both of them are now dating seriously again, 6+ months, and I know that generally upsets the previous balance of friendships. Trust me, I've been ignored by friends many times in my life the second they entered a relationship. I've been trying to adjust even though it hurts. They were both in steady relationships at the beginning of our friendship and still came over every week, so maybe I got confused. Anyway, that's one contributing factor. A few months ago I noticed, in our group chat, that I was no longer seeing the little bubble confirming that the messages had been read by one of them. I've spent the last 2 years adjusting to the fact that clearly we no longer have the chatting all day and night relationship, that they were at least reading the messages even if they never got around to replying. Often several days would pass and then one of them would come in with something on a different topic. I asked about it and she said that she turned off her notifications for every messaging app because she was too overwhelmed. Context: this friend is a people pleaser to the point of her own destruction and a workaholic who frequently puts in 12 to 14-hour work days of her own accord in a director level position. Plus her family is all weaponized incompetence and text her to solve every problem. I tried to figure this was fair and temporary, but it's been months and now it'll be days, if not a whole week, between her checking the chat. Then yesterday, after many days of silence, she messaged, "How y'all doing? Due to an injury I can't do much," and figured I'd take a second to say hi. I'm honestly so hurt I've been crying on and off since reading that. I guess I've now become so unimportant that she only bothers to message when she literally can't do anything else. This is the same person who visited for the first time in 6 months back in March, and it felt like I was booking an appointment with a contractor. Okay, I can slot you in between 11 and 1. I'm not even joking. I know she had family stuff to do too, but as best friends for so long, I was actually friends with her first and she introduced me to the other one. I thought I would retain at least a little importance in her life. No, I didn't fuss about it. I gladly took the scraps I could get and thoroughly enjoyed the time together. But it's kind of like when you're starving and only get a morsel of food. It's almost better to keep starving than being reminded what eating is like. My other friend still very much lives in the same city as me, and in fact recently moved closer to my place, not walking distance, but no longer a 30-minute Uber ride. And she too promised that now she was closer we'd hang out a lot more. That was probably over 3 months ago and I haven't even seen the new house, let alone spent any time together. She tells me that when I really start focusing on working out and eating healthily, it just takes a whole lot of my time and focus. Again, I want her to be happy and healthy, of course. I'm not a petulant child, so it's not like I've gotten mad at them or even lashed out. No matter how much my heart is aching with loneliness every single day, I always thought of myself as a good friend, and though I'm far from perfect, I don't think I've given anyone a reason to distance themselves. But, I once heard someone say if no one wants to spend time with you, then maybe you need to be more pleasant to spend time with. I also know how often I see the wholesome friends just grow out of your life thing. And I've also seen many a saying about how if people show you how they are, then you should listen. Maybe I'm just having a really hard time believing that the two people I've been closest to for a freaking third of my life could lose interest in our friendship like that. Or only message me as a last resort when there's literally nothing better to do. Even if it's not malicious, which I don't think it is. Again, I don't think I'm so important I would affect anyone enough to change their behavior in such a bad way. It's still being forgotten. It's still being knocked off the list of priorities. It's still lonely and painful. Oh, you might be wondering, what about other friends? Well, I was raised by narcissists, and literally since childhood, I've always ended up being close friends with people who bully me, and not like schoolyard bully, but people who would guilt trip me, manipulate me, make me feel bad about myself if anything didn't align with what they wanted. Just like my parents, I thought that's what love looked like, and when I realized it wasn't, I ended up distancing myself from a lot of people. Other people I had to let go because while I'm happy to do like 75% of the work in a friendship, I can't always do 100%, and many people expected that. I also do still try to make new friends, but it's almost impossible to start a new friendship from scratch in your 30s, as I've come to find out. I can't keep a job for more than 2 years, so I know I'm a disappointing employee. I don't have and never plan on having kids, and I'm not making money, so I know I'm a disappointing child to my parents. I can't even manage to keep the entire house clean or cook proper meals despite unemployment. And though he's just the best person ever who has always supported me, I know I must be disappointing to my spouse. I never thought I'd be such a disappointing friend that no one would want to talk to me, much less spend time with me. It was the one thing I could hang my hat on. And now that I don't even have that, I just don't know what the point of going on even is. My body is clearly a lemon, so many chronic issues, and my brain is just plain defective. If I was a car, I'd be written off. No mechanic would think it worth fixing. I'm so sorry that this was as short as I could get it and still make good sense. There are so many other factors also contributing. A huge one being my parents falling deep into the ultra-right type movements when COVID happened. My mom told me I was a disappointment when I mentioned getting vaccinated, and in one argument about what a dictator is, she actually said, "Well, I guess you're not my daughter, and yeah, that one doesn't heal so quick." If you made it to the end, thank you so much for reading. If you didn't, I totally get it. Sad that my best friend went back to her ex. Throwaway, and I just needed to get this off my chest out there because it has been bothering me for weeks, and if it's possible to get others' opinions on this, especially for those that experience the same thing. Also, I'm writing on my phone, so formatting might seems weird. I, 23F, have a best friend, and recently she had been talking, and possibly had gone back to her ex. I understand that this kind of thing is entirely her choice as it is within her own rights and her own life, but I can't help but feel a lot of negativity towards it. Spiteful, disappointed, sad and frustrated. Maybe something else similar. I may also be jealous, but not towards their relationship. It's more that I'm jealous that she's spending more time with him than me. Disclaimer, I wouldn't have minded if she changed priorities if it was someone new, as I understand it takes a lot to get to know someone, so I had always been supportive with her in that terms. It just bugs me because her and her ex were friends prior, and I didn't know much details of their relationship when they were together at the time either. She never really told me much about it, and I try not to pry, but when they broke up, everything came to surface, and I tried my best to be there for her and make sure she knows she's loved. Throughout this period, I've been nothing but supportive in her healing journey, and even support her in trying to move on and seek out to date other people. I even make it my mission not to talk to her ex anymore because she's important to me, and if me cutting contact with him makes her feel better, and that's what I'll do. Things haven't always been great, but I really do cherish and appreciate her as a close friend, and make sure to spend time with her when I can and listen to her when she feels down about her ex. So it really disappointed me that when her ex texted her again, she relents to it. I didn't want to outright tell her what to do and told her that she could try being friends with him still, but no relationship. Even as a friend, he had been shitty and kept expecting them to be together. She had been adamant, or at least what she told me, to keep them strictly being friends, and I believed her because I trust her judgment. It didn't take me that long for me to find out they're together, or at least in the talking stage, and I couldn't help but almost feel betrayed, as if my advices and what I told her meant nothing to her. I feel like the love I gave her as a friend wasn't enough to make her feel like she's enough as a person. On top of that, she would always reply to me lately, and I always just assumed she's busy, but she always posted on her spending time with a guy. It makes me feel sad because when it's with me, it's always the excuse that she's busy, but somehow she's able to make time for him this much. It makes me feel like I've been abandoned and replaced. Right now, I've been putting distance because I can't even bring myself to talk to her because I just feel so sad, and even if I did, I'll just end up getting late replies. I was hoping she would at least notice, but I feel like she's completely gone silent on me too. I used to receive TikToks from her and even now I don't get, and she just never replies to the one I sent her anymore. It's only been around 2 weeks, so I don't want to overreact and just let things go with the flow. I'm not trying to paint her as a villain, and I do apologize if it makes it seems like it. I just can't fathom right now how just because her ex decided to message her that day, she just doesn't bother with me anymore. She doesn't use Reddit and she probably won't ever see this, but I just want to say that I still love her and I will always continue to love her. I'll be there for her with open arms if she wishes to confide in me still. Maybe not now, or maybe not even ever. I'll ever be there if she asks to play games with me again, but for now, I'll take a step back for my own sake. I don't know how much this distance will affect our friendship in the future, but I hope you'll never forget me. I love you, my wife. Nickname. My friend, former best friend, forgot my birthday. I had a best friend when I was 17 and we went through a lot together. We were both there for each other in a dark period of our lives and hung out almost every day, until he started to ghost me because of problems in our friend group. Regardless of his ghosting, he was there for my birthday, which is a week before his, and he was busy, so I appreciated it. After that he continued to be flaky and I tried to hang on to the friendship, but I realized at some point I was putting much more effort in and started to interact with him less. Things came to a breaking point when he forgot our mutual best friend's birthday and ghosted us for weeks after doing that. We ended in a very messy way, with me calling him out for his behavior and him ghosting again. Fast forward to a couple years later and he apologizes to me for the ghosting and many other things I didn't get into here. His apology was the best I'd ever gotten from him. It felt genuine and he actually addressed every issue instead of running away or trying to shift the blame like he had in the past. He said in his apology that he wanted to rebuild our friendship even if it took a lot of work, and I accepted his offer because although we had our issues, we always clicked well and I still loved and cared about him as a friend. I only asked him 2 things in us becoming friends again: that he would try to initiate more conversations with me and to just give me a heads up when he's especially busy and can't text back. He followed those and texted me a lot and called a few times in the first few months, and we even met up when he came into town and he had a lot going on. But soon after he started to return to flaky habits. This time I didn't care nearly as much because I understood he lived states away from me now and had a busy life. We weren't close in the same way we used to be, so I didn't expect him to even text me as much as he did when we first reconnected. He ghosted for a few days, a week, a couple weeks, and always came back to text for a bit before he disappeared again, so I just told him not to worry about it when he apologized and talked to him like normal. But this time it's been well over a month. During this month was my birthday just a few days ago and he continued his radio silence. I know he's bad with dates already because he forgot our old friend's birthday, but my birthday is exactly a week before his, so him forgetting this is a bit more embarrassing in my opinion. Also, one of the main things we talked about in reconnecting was the trip I had planned for my birthday, because I was going to a place we talked the most about as friends because we both loved it. I still had a wonderful birthday because I was not about to let him ruin it, but I definitely thought about it and it hurt. Now I'm stuck. At this point I think I know I can't be his friend anymore, but I don't know the proper response/reaction. I feel weird texting him in the days between our birthdays because what would I even say? I want to wish him a happy birthday, but what would he even reply? Would he just say, thank you? What do I say after that, because I don't want to confront him on his birthday? My friends are telling me I should just block/ghost him, but I hated how we ended on silence last time. I'm just annoyed and confused because he told me he was going to put the effort in and he really appreciated me being his closest friend in a dark time. What do you think is the best thing to do in this situation? Sorry this is so long. This is honestly the short version. There's a lot of missing context, but no, I asked him when we first became friends again if there was anything he needed to address with me and said nothing that was still bothering him. I apologized for anything I thought might have hurt him regardless, and we haven't fought or even disagreed at all since reconnecting, so I don't know any underlying issues. Boyfriend said I love you at the wrong time. I'm sorry if this is all over the place, but I'm tired. My boyfriend, 21M, is away on a trip right now and I'm sort of just in my head, and I need to get this out because every now and then I still get mad or sad about this and I just need it out in the air in some form or another. At the time this happened, my boyfriend and I celebrated our 1-year anniversary. We've been friends since we were kids and have been together before in a long-distance relationship while I was studying, for about 7 to 8 months, but because of mainly my unstable mental health he felt overwhelmed and felt the need to end it. A few days before my birthday, when I moved back, I still had feelings for him, and the following year we got back together after talking some things out. When it comes to him, I am a very loving person. I said I love you for the first time in this current relationship, dropping him off at work accidentally, but the actual I love you was from me first when he said something and I was like, at least I love you, as a joke, but it was clear I meant it. He didn't say it back and I thought it was fine. Maybe he didn't pick it up, but I sorta internalized it. A little, to the point of where I would casually say I love you when I say goodbye to him to go home, and I would double take and ask if he said anything because I thought I heard him say it. I even embarrassingly, while we were at some cliffs in Ireland visiting, thought he said it to me because I couldn't hear him, and I genuinely thought he said it, but he thought that I thought he asked me to marry him. He's a firm not a marriage guy, which was embarrassing to try and change the subject of. Flash forward to our anniversary. We went out for dinner and I dressed up nicely and he looked sorta nervous the whole night, but the whole time of our anniversary he didn't say it or confess it to me, which to be honest broke my heart a little. I felt like I owed an I love you after everything, and I felt like I needed the validation of reciprocated love. To be clear, he's always taken care of me, looked after me and shown a lot of affection. I pushed it aside a little, or rather tried to, and chalked it up to it being a big thing for him, and I didn't want him to have that pressure on him. Valentine's Day comes. We do something small, but he doesn't say it there either. It's starting to hurt, and I tell myself he doesn't say it within a certain amount of time, I'll bring it up and ask him outright. A few weeks later maybe, my mental health took a bit of a turn and I was having trouble at work. I'm also autistic, so I sort of just shut down a little, but I wasn't feeling great and was just sitting in my room one night and he sent it over text. He said he was thinking about it while he was trying to sleep and how he doesn't feel like he's that honest with me. This hurt. I wanted a vocal first I love you, and I felt as if he stripped it away from me. He thinks I was upset because he chose the wrong time to say it while I was depressed and did apologize for it. I couldn't be honest with him because I can't be truly open about it with my feelings anymore about how I feel in general, because I don't want to scare him away again, but this hurt. It really did. I had been saying I loved him all this time and he could only say it to me the first time over text. I know he really does love me. He shows it and says it in many ways, but I feel as if I was robbed of that experience, but perhaps I was just overhyping it in my head like a romance movie where he would look at me and say it and I would feel flushed, but no. My immediate reaction was tears and dread. I don't know how to move past this, and it's been too long to bring it up now. He's the person I want to spend the rest of my life with, and he's the same. It's just this has been bugging me for a while. I think I might be the problem. Hello everyone. This is my first ever post on this account, but I need to vent somewhere. Hope you don't mind my bad English as well. I, 19F, recently took a kitten in who's almost 2 months old. I always liked cats, so I asked my parents after our last pet passed away if we could start thinking of probably adopting a cat. At the end of the high school, at one of the important exams, I passed out because of stress. After that day I developed agoraphobia, where I started intense therapy. My therapist was extremely helpful and I now can easily go out. I do still have problems, but I came a long way. My therapist recommended me getting a pet, either a dog or a cat. It will give me something to work with, and needing to go out more. So with it I suggested that my mental health would be even better with a pet, so my mother agreed and she started looking at adoption. I have a history of mental health problems. I was at 15 diagnosed with severe depression and anxiety. I never treated it or any of my past trauma properly. Me and my current therapist only worked on my agoraphobia, never on my past, which I kinda just gave up on honestly, but I think all of this ties up with the past. Now let's go back to the story. My auntie called us last month saying her cat had kittens, so if we want we could take all of them, which we finally decided to go and take a look. After developing agoraphobia I had problems with driving. This time I didn't felt anything, so I thought it will be a good thing. We took the kitten and gone back home. We didn't really had any problems with the kitten. She was friendly, she would sleep on us and she would play and have zoomies. I just continuously had this weird feeling in my chest. After the first night of having a cat I had a panic attack. I won't go into details about it. It wasn't really important. It was just my paranoia acting up. But the second night, true, the whole day I was feeling off. Probably because it's time of the month. I was dizzy and overwhelmed the whole day. Needing to take care of the kitten wasn't helping at all. The night came and she wasn't sleeping. She actually started having zoomies at 1 a.m. and meowing. And I think that was a last straw for me. I started crying and hyperventilating. I felt disgusting for even thinking and regretting taking the cat. My stomach hurted. I felt like throwing up. I couldn't even look anyone in the eyes. It was all my fault all this was happening. I ended up having an intense panic attack. I couldn't stop shaking and I was crying. I was losing a touch where I was. My mother was there the whole time. She didn't really knew how to help me. At the moment she was screaming at me. In others she was saying to calm down. It was a mess. It took me more than 2 hours to stop shaking. I didn't know what I was thinking. I felt like this is a big responsibility that I am not ready for. I was not ready for a big change of sequel. I was not ready not to have my personal space or alone time for me. It was all too much, and I started regretting it. And I felt awful for even doing it. If I knew this would have happened I would never took her. I would never ask for my parents to spend money on all of the stuff. I feel disgusting and like I'm a bad person. Like people are going to point fingers at me and berate me. I was just not mentally ready for this. My father angrily said he is taking care of the cat, which resolved in me crying even more. After in 1 hour I asked my mother, are they going to take the kitten back to my aunt's and its mom and not let it out in a wild? She said she will and she did it. This morning my mother took the kitten back. While writing this, kitten is reunited with her mom. But I still feel so disgusting. I feel ashamed. I feel like I failed everyone. Like I hurted everyone's feelings. I'm a big empath and am very sensitive, so I don't think that's helping my situation right now. I don't know what I want out of this post. Maybe closer I'm not a bad person who doing something like this. Maybe to find someone I can relate to. Honestly, I don't know. To add, mental health isn't taken seriously in my country, so it was very hard to find a professional therapist who actually understands to her problems.